Have you ever paused, I mean really paused, to consider how the way we talk about aging affects how you see your own future?
Hmm.
Because, especially online, it feels like it's constantly framed as just loss. Loss of energy, loss of relevance.
Loss of mental sharpness. Yeah, it's this relentless narrative of
Oh,
decline.
it really is.
And that bias, that often subconscious feeling, it actually has a name. Ageism. There's this definition from psychologist Daryl Sue that really captures it. He calls it prejudice against one's future self.
Wow. Prejudice against your future self. That really hits home, doesn't it?
It does.
It suggests we're kind of absorbing these negative ideas now that actively hurt the person we're going to be later. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy based on, well, myths.
Precisely. And that's what we need to dismantle. The sources we're looking at today, they're based on solid research. They paint a much more hopeful picture,
Right.
a fact-based one.
Yeah, a picture of refinement, not decay. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We're going to use these sources to debunk 4 of the biggest, most stubborn myths about getting older. We want to understand how aging actually refines us.
Makes us better in some ways.
Right. Let's tackle that first big one, the one that probably scares people the most. The mind.
Ah, yes. The stereotype is just brutal, isn't it? That older adults are, inherently forgetful, slower, inevitably sliding towards senility.
That fear of cognitive decline is maybe the loudest part of ageism.
It really is. But the reality check from the research, it's actually profoundly reassuring.
Okay.
The vast majority of older adults maintain good cognitive health. Really good. Well into their later years.
But that myth is so strong. Why does it persist?
Hmm.
I think we need to talk about the different types of intelligence, right?
That's absolutely key. You've got what psychologists call fluid intelligence. That's your raw processing speed, how quickly you can recall things, solve totally new, abstract problems. And yes, that often peaks earlier in life. But then there's crystallized intelligence. And that's your ability to use the skills, the knowledge, the experience you've built up over a lifetime. That's the intelligence that actually tends to get better with age.
Right, and that's the crucial difference. So where do older adults actually perform better?
Well, it's in tasks that mirror real life. Complex problem solving.
Like what? Give us an example.
Okay, think about navigating a really complicated healthcare issue, or managing intricate finances, or maybe resolving a tricky interpersonal conflict, things that require judgment and experience.
Not just raw speed on a memory test.
Exactly. The sources show the older mind is often better at integrating different bits of information, seeing the bigger picture, applying past experience, predicting outcomes because they've seen similar patterns before.
So it's like experience provides the data for better problem solving.
Precisely. Aging refines intelligence by providing this incredibly rich database of knowledge to draw on. It shifts the focus from sheer speed to depth and wisdom.
And the statistics are looking better too, aren't they?
They are. Someone who's 65 today can generally expect many more years of good cognitive health. And perhaps even more encouraging, the actual rate of dementia is declining in many developed nations.
That's huge. Is there a reason for that decline?
Well, researchers think it's partly down to better education across the lifespan, and definitely improvements in cardiovascular health. You know the saying, what's good for the heart is good for the brain.
Right. It seems to hold true.
It really does. So the big takeaway here is pretty definitive. Aging refines intelligence. It absolutely doesn't erase it.
Okay, so the mind can stay sharp, even improve in key ways. Let's move on to myth number 2. This is about mood.
Yeah.
The stereotype of the cranky, unhappy older
It's grumpy grandparent cliche.
Exactly. Or just someone who's become bitter or perpetually irritable because, life's winding down or something.
Yeah, well, the data just completely flips that script.
Really?
Absolutely. High life satisfaction, strong emotional stability. These are actually the norms in later life, according to the research. And it's not just passive contentment. It often comes from active emotional skills.
Because you'd think, listening to popular culture, that depression rates would soar after, say, retirement.
You would think that, but it's far from it. Persistent clinical depression, it only affects about 10% of older adults, which is lower than some younger age groups.
Wow. Okay. So what's behind that emotional steadiness? Is it just perspective?
Perspective is part of it, but there's more. Many older adults genuinely get better at managing their emotions, better than younger adults.
How does that work? Is there a sort of scientific reason for this inner peace people talk about?
There is, actually. It connects to something called socio-emotional selectivity theory. Basically, as people get older, they become more aware that time is finite.
Okay.
And that awareness motivates them to prioritize emotional quality in their lives. They tend to prune away superficial relationships and really focus their energy on interactions that are emotionally meaningful and positive.
Ah, so they're actively shaping their environment to boost positive feelings. Choosing serenity in a way.
That's a great way to put it. They gain better emotional control. They get better at avoiding conflicts, minimizing stress, and bouncing back faster when something negative does happen. It's a real emotional maturation.
Leading to a deeper sense of inner peace.
That seems to be the case. It deepens with age and experience.
All right, so mind sharpens, mood stabilizes. Now for myth number 3. This one feels very societal. The idea that older adults become dependent, a burden.
Yes, the stereotype of disengagement, that aging automatically means becoming reliant on others, economically or socially.
That you just sort of withdraw.
Right. And this narrative of dependency, it just needs a complete overhaul. Our sources really stress that most older adults stay active, alert, deeply engaged. Aging isn't withdrawal, it's more like a continuation of contribution. Wisdom in motion.
Wisdom in motion. I like that. Let's unpack contribution, though, because the numbers we found really punch holes in that dependency myth.
They really do. Think about leadership, for instance. Innovation. The assumption is often that it's all driven by youth. But the data says otherwise. Over half of Fortune 500 CEOs, they're over 55. That's not an accident.
Okay, that's significant. And what about starting new things? Entrepreneurship.
Even more compelling, maybe. The most successful startups, the ones that really grow and last, they're very often launched by founders in their middle age, not their 20s.
Why is that? What edge do they have?
Well, it boils down to things like expertise, networks, and managing risk. A 55-year-old founder usually has deep industry knowledge, connections.
Strategic patience, maybe.
Exactly. Strategic patience. They're often better at judging complex risks, securing funding. That lifetime of experience becomes a huge competitive advantage.
So that accumulated experience isn't slowing them down. It's actually the foundation for success. Continued economic output.
Absolutely. The idea that your relevance just vanishes after 40 or 50, it's just demonstrably false when you look at who's leading businesses and driving innovation. The contribution evolves perhaps from raw output to more strategic impact, but it continues.
And that's just the economic side.
Right. We shouldn't forget the immense social contributions, too. Volunteering, mentoring younger generations, caring for family members. These are vital contributions often carried out by older adults, essential for society.
Okay, so not a burden, but often a pillar. Let's move to the 4th myth. This one can feel quite personal, maybe even a bit taboo. The assumption that intimacy, love, sexuality, they just fade away after midlife.
Yes, that they become exclusively the domain of the young.
As if the need for connection just switches off.
Which completely ignores a fundamental human need. Our sources strongly confirm that emotional closeness, physical touch, they continue to be vital for both body and soul at every age.
The form might change, maybe?
The form might evolve, certainly, but its importance for overall well-being, that doesn't diminish.
It feels like the cultural spotlight just sort of moves away from older people's intimacy, creating this void where we assume desire must be gone.
But the desire is absolutely not gone. Often what changes is maybe the metric for what makes a relationship satisfying. It might shift away from just physical frequency, which is maybe prioritized more when younger,
Towards what?
towards emotional depth, genuine connection, comfort, shared history. Intimacy becomes more about wholeness, perhaps?
We found some pretty striking data on this, didn't we? Specifically about sexual well-being for people 70 and older.
We did, and it really pushes back hard against that fading away stereotype.
What did it show?
Well, studies show desire persists quite strongly. Get this. 80% of men aged 70 and older say a satisfying sexual relationship remains important to their well-being. 80%.
Wow. And for women?
For women aged 70 and older, it was 39% who agreed it remains important. So maybe different levels, but still significant numbers for both.
Definitely significant. It confirms that the drive for connection, for closeness, touch, it's still a powerful part of quality of life, way past the age people might assume it stops.
Absolutely. To love, to seek connection at any age, it's fundamental to feeling alive emotionally and spiritually. It's powerful proof that aging isn't about shutting down. It's often about deepening the experiences that give life real meaning.
So let's try and pull this all together. We've looked at these 4 big myths about the mind, mood, contribution, intimacy, and the research seems to consistently dismantle this idea of inevitable decline.
Yeah, when you step back and look beyond these really damaging, often internalized stereotypes, aging starts to look different. It looks less like decay and more like a sacred unfolding.
Sacred unfolding,
Yeah.
like that.
It suggests a journey towards maybe ripening insight, deepened compassion, guided by all that lived experience.
It really reframes the whole journey, doesn't it? There was that quote from the sources we like, each wrinkle tells a story of becoming, not fading.
That sums it up beautifully, I think. It captures the evidence. The quiet sort of spiritual truth, maybe, is that with each year, you're still growing into wisdom, into gratitude, into a more whole version of yourself.
Yeah. So the final thought we want to leave you, the listener, with is this. Think about this idea of refined experience in your own life right now.
Mm.
Given that the knowledge you've gathered doesn't just disappear, but actually sharpens your ability to solve complex problems.
Oh.
What's next for you?
What new skill, maybe, or perspective?
Exactly. What complex skill or deeply desired perspective will you use that incredible storehouse of experience you already possess to master next? Think about the foundation you've built. What profound things can you build on top of it starting today?